Joining us now on the Megacast is the Executive Director of the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan, Rob Boyle. Rob, thanks for being with us again today.
Tyler, it's always a pleasure. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing well, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
We were glad to hear that, and we were glad to hear that you're having your annual comedy night fundraiser once again happening this week, happening on Thursday night, October 13th at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle in Royal Oak. Tell us about this upcoming event and the ways that it helps your organization with all the great work that it does here in Southeastern Michigan and beyond.
So this will be our 12th annual comedy night at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. It starts at 6 p.m. Tickets are still available. They're $75 per, and they support our mission to provide beds and furniture to children and families in need. You know, when people think of basic needs, they usually think of food, clothing, and shelter. But if your child doesn't have a bed to sleep in, or if you don't have a table on which to share a meal with your family, or just the basics, living room furniture, sofas, chairs, dressers, you're not going to be able to live with the stability and dignity that a lot of us take for granted. So the Furniture Bank collects gently used furniture and some new stuff too. Beds so kids can sleep in a warm bed at night, tables so families can share a meal on a table, and furniture so those who are most vulnerable can live with stability and dignity. And the proceeds of our comedy night allow our trucks to get on the road and pick up furniture to serve about 2,300 families, or probably close to 7,000 people in total this year.
And that's quite significant because you think about the last few years, the amount of storm damages that's been done here in our local area. And even you think about some of the damage that maybe isn't making the big headlines and isn't getting all the visuals on it because it's kind of happening behind the scenes. We had several days of power outages just a couple of months ago that certainly took a toll on people's homes in many different ways. And those things also can happen during the colder months of the year. If that's the case, pipes can burst and that can cause a lot of damage in people's homes. And they're not necessarily always going to be able to go to their insurance company if they have homeowners insurance at all and get that stuff replaced, or even be able to go out and afford new furniture. So having an organization like yours is so critical for people in our local area. What are some of the ways that local people and people outside of Southeastern Michigan can help your organization each and every day as you're trying to fulfill what is often a daunting task, but a task that you're always able to make happen?
Well, first of all, let me just say the floods were absolutely terrible.
Okay.
And the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is that it takes individuals a lot longer to recover from a flood than one might think, especially families who are, living at or below the poverty line. Because what you have to do is you have to apply to, you probably don't have renter's insurance, and you need to apply to FEMA or your local municipality. And that just takes time. So we still have families who are still trying to recover from last summer's floods coming through our door. The other big thing that I would also point out is, with the pandemic eviction moratorium expiring July of last year, after about 4 months, we just saw a huge influx of referrals. People who, would have been evicted from their homes earlier were it not for the moratorium to keep them in their homes at a time when they really needed to be in their homes. So our referrals are up by about 30%. We're probably going to help about 400 families more this year than we did last year. But to answer your question, the way folks can help, they can call 248-332-1300 or visit www.furniture-bank.org to donate their usable mattresses, their usable box springs, their usable sofas, their usable dining table and chair sets. This way, families who are barely able to afford an apartment of their own while still making the utility bills and the rent payment and the other things that they have to do just to get on with their lives can live in a furnished home and can do so affordably.
And living in a home that is furnished can have so many of those residual effects too that help to bridge some of those gaps or help to address some of those issues like finding work or collecting the resources you need to be able to then pay your bills and keep yourself in that home. And you think about it for the kids too. I just read an article, we just had an article we featured from M Live on our show just this morning that 80% over 80% of Michigan teens report that they don't get the proper amount of sleep every night during the school year, and that's a daunting number. But it's even more daunting. It's even more, frankly, shocking when you think about it a little deeper, and you think about those families, those teens that are in financial situations where their family can barely afford to be in the home that they're in, or is being evicted, or they don't have furniture, they don't have a bed to sleep on. That can have a huge impact on people of all different ages, and that's why it's so important for these resources to be available for these individuals and these families. And so, Rob, having witnessed this, being someone that's on the front lines working on these issues and addressing these issues with these individuals and families, give us some insight. Just how much of an impact does it have when somebody or family receives a couch, receives a bed, receives an entire house worth of furniture, to be able to then go on in other things in their life and address other issues, and work forward on making some progress.
We did a couple of years back. We did a study with researchers from Michigan State University, and one of the things that we found was people who did not have furniture in their home, they lived with emotional and even physical distress. And it was very difficult. Many of the people who were helping, they've been in homeless shelters, and they are very, very excited when they get into their own home or apartment. But what they soon find is, if they don't have a bed to sleep in, or if their kids don't have beds to sleep in, chances are they were more comfortable in the homeless shelter. Now, that's not an ideal situation, nor is it an ideal situation where you have a child who, is going to be forced to sleep on a floor at night, a cold, hard floor at night. How is that child going to be prepared for school? As you alluded to, how is a parent going to be ready to, obtain and hold down a job if they are not able to get a decent night's sleep every evening? So, it's really very, very important that families, particularly families who've been through trauma of eviction, or may have been in abusive situations, or other crises. Substance abuse is often prevalent in some of the populations that we serve. So they've seen a lot of trauma, and they need some stability in their life. They need some rest in their life. They need to live with the stability and dignity that you and I take for granted. So, every year we have a fundraiser at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. And, that's one of the ways that we support our mission. In addition to the fact that we have a 30% increase in referrals this year, the cost of fuel is going through the roof. And we have 3 box trucks, and it ain't cheap to keep those full of fuel. So the comedy night supports our mission, so allows us to help more families and get more kids off floors. So again, you can still purchase tickets online at www.furniture-bank.org. You can also give us a shout at 248-332-1300 if you're interested in coming and joining us. It's really a great time.
Again, that fundraiser Thursday, October 13th, 6 p.m. until 9 p.m. at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, located at 310 South Troy Street in Royal Oak. October 13th, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Furniture-bank.org for more information. It's furniture-bank.org, or call 248-332-1300. 248-332-1300 for information on purchasing tickets, as well as other ways you can help the Furniture Bank of Southeastern Michigan. You think about inflation and the ways that that's affecting you. You mentioned, gas prices, keeping your box trucks fully fueled. Also, the cost of goods also going up. So that's certainly a factor for your organization. Also a factor for many Michiganders all throughout our local area and across the state as they try to keep themselves afloat and furnish their homes as well. All the more reason to support an organization like this. 248-332-1300 or furniture-bank.org. Rob, just another minute or so with you before we'll have to say goodbye today. Anything else people should know at this time, or that we haven't discussed about the Furniture Bank?
Well, you mentioned inflation, and, about 70% of the families we serve are reporting household incomes of $10,000 or less. And on average, there are 3 people in a home. And so the profile of the family we serve is most commonly a single mom with 2 kids. And, inflation is hitting these folks a lot higher and a lot harder than it is people who, can afford, who have more means to them. When you're making $10,000 or $20,000 a year trying to support a couple of kids, 10% inflation over the course of 1 year, that's a really big hit. So we're trying to help more families. We see this increased need as the new normal, as the economy continues to kind of level out after some years of COVID craziness. And I don't think we're out of the woods yet. And we're going to be here, though, for local families. And that's why, we appreciate the opportunity to come on your show and talk about what we do and ask people to help us to help local families.
Well, we're always happy to have you on and spread the helpful, good word about your organization and other nonprofits too, doing amazing work, especially now when so many people are in need for a variety of different reasons. Rob, thank you so much for joining us.
It is always a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.